In the previous lecture, we looked at tissues and organs. We talked about how cells combine together to form tissues, but how tissues can form together to create organs, each one going more towards a more specific type of function that allows for a specific purpose in the body to be fulfilled. In this lecture, we'll begin to talk a little bit about different types of systems within the body, and then focus particularly on the muscular system and how it works within the body. So first, let's talk a little bit about human body systems. There are 11 main systems that keeps our body functioning, and in this diagram, we talk a little bit about each of them. A human body system is a system that is a group of organs that work together to perform a very specific function. The 11 main systems within the body are the endocrine system, which regulates the body process through hormone production, the nervous system, that is the processing center for sensory input and uses the input to elicit appropriate responses, the respiratory system, which is gas exchange between the internal and external environments of the body, the cardiovascular system, the circulation of blood, which transports gases, nutrients, hormones, and wastes, the physical and chemical breakdown of food to allow absorption of nutrients is done in the digestive system, while the lymphatic system is the circulation of nymphs, which maintains fluid balance and helps fight infections. The reproductive system is the production of reproductive cells that will help generate offspring, while the urinary system is the filtration of blood and excretion of wastes from the body. The integumentary system is the protection against the external environment and regulation of temperature, and the skeletal system helps support and protect many of the internal organs within the body. Lastly, the muscular system is the voluntary and involuntary movement of the body. We'll only be focusing on 5 of these, but if you want to continue learning more about biomedical engineering, I suggest really diving into each of these systems to help learn more. So let's talk a little bit about the muscular system. The muscular system is composed of muscles, which help move and generate heat. Muscles cause the body to move and generate heat, which I just mentioned. The contraction and stretching of the muscles are the 2 essential abilities of muscles in movements. And although it might seem quite simple, it does a lot to help our body stay moving, to help it keep all the muscles working, and so many other things. The stimulus of the contraction, which is usually an electrical pulse, is provided by the nervous system. So these 2 work in tandem with each other to help create movement. Due to the elasticity of muscles, they can return to initial length after contraction. So therefore, even though the muscle shortens when you contract, they can go back to their original length after they contract. So let's talk a little bit about the different types of muscles that are formed within the muscular system. First of all, let's look at skeletal muscles. These are muscles that are involved in skeletal movements, such as moving your limbs and other parts of your body. The skeletal muscle is composed of cells that are called muscle fibers. Within these fibers are smaller fibers that are called myofibrils. Myofibrils are made up of thick and thin threads called myofilaments. So you have the skeletal muscle, which is composed of muscle fibers. Within the muscle fibers, you have myofibrils, and within the myofibrils, you have microfilaments. The thick microfilaments are called myosin, and the thin ones are called actin, and each of them have different types of functions that allow for the muscle to move in different types of ways. Now, let's look a little bit at smooth muscles. Smooth muscles don't have striations and therefore appear smooth under a microscope, hence the name smooth muscles. They are called involuntary because they aren't controlled by the autonomic nervous system, and that's why twitching can occur, and it is primarily done by smooth muscles. Unlike the skeletal muscle, it is not attached to bone. It is found within the human body, for example, in places like the circulatory and digestive systems. They have slower contraction and relaxation times than skeletal muscles. This is because it's involuntary and it takes a little bit of a longer time versus as in the skeletal muscle system, you want your body to move on almost instinct when you tell your body to move. And therefore, you want that contraction and relaxation time for skeletal muscles to be very quick. Some of the features of this smooth muscle is that it has slow, sustained contractions. It is under autonomous or non-voluntary control. They contain actin and myosin filaments, but they lack sarcomeres. And some of their prominent locations are the wall of the GI tract, the walls of arteries and veins, and the around glands. Lastly, let's talk a little bit about the cardiac muscle. The cardiac muscle is only found in the heart, and it is similar in structure to that of the skeletal muscle. The big difference between the cardiac muscle and the skeletal muscle is that the cardiac muscle can only contract rhythmically on its own, and therefore is not really controlled under impulse through the nervous system. That is how the thumping or the beating of the heart is created, through that rhythmic contraction that the heart muscle is doing.